How's it going, everybody? Xander Fryer with Shit You Don't Learn in College here, and I'm going to talk about the 5 reasons that taking risks leads to success. Now, everybody's heard that in order to be successful, you have to take quote-unquote risks. You have to do something different. But the reality is it's still one of the hardest things for most of us to do. I've worked with over 800 different entrepreneurs. And to this day, one of the biggest things that makes it difficult for entrepreneurs to be successful is their perceived risk of some of the actions that they're going to be taking. The idea that taking these risks might lead to something negative in the future. So I want to talk about the 5 reasons why developing the ability to take these risks is actually the reason you will be successful. So the first reason why taking risks leads to success is an idea that I call inverse Las Vegas. Yeah, it sounds a little bit weird and a little bit complicated because it is a little bit weird. But this is something that I teach every single one of our clients. Now, the way that I want you to think about this, if you understand Las Vegas, everybody knows the house always wins, right? If you're gambling, the odds are always in the house's favor. So you might go play a game of blackjack, or you might go play a game of roulette, and you might win the first 1 or 2 hands. But if you play it long enough, the house is always going to win. The house is always going to make their money back. That's because the odds are always in the house's favor. Well, what most people don't realize is that the world is the exact opposite. In the world, the odds are actually in your favor. Now, the truth is, if you might go play a hand of blackjack, or you might go play a hand of poker in the world of taking risks or entrepreneurship per se, and you might lose the first hand. This is the perceived failure. But if you keep taking risks, if you keep playing the game, if the odds are in your favor, then eventually you're going to win, right? If you start with 10 chips and you start placing small bets, one at a time, to learn the game, you might lose the first one, you might lose the second one, you might lose the third, but then you might win the 4th, and the 5th, and the 6th, and the 7th. And you play for about an hour, you keep going back and forth, and all of a sudden you've got 20 chips instead of 10. Because the odds are in your favor. Now that you've got 20 chips instead of 10, and you've started to understand the game a little bit better, you can take bigger risks. You can do 2 chips at a time, 3 chips at a time. You start to get really good. Now you've got a stack of 50 chips. You can do 5 chips at a time, 10 chips at a time. Before you know it, you've got a mountainous pile of chips, and you can start to make really big bets. Because you've learned the game so well, and you now understand that the odds are in your favor, you realize you're no longer taking a risk. In the end, if you keep taking enough risks, you're going to win. Now, the second reason that taking risks leads to success is because just by definition, success means doing something different. Think about this. To be successful, you want to have what most people don't have. You want to be who most people can't be, right? So therefore, success by definition means you are not average. So let's think about this for a second. To be successful, you have to do something different than the norm. Now, most people, when they perceive doing something as risky, it's actually not even risky, it's just different. It's different than the social norm, and that to them makes it seem quote-unquote risky, but it's not, it's just different. The truth is, if you really go after entrepreneurship and you put your heart and soul into it and you learn how to do it, you'll be successful, but it's just different than most people. If you hang out with all 9-to-5ers, and you're the only person you know that's going down the entrepreneurial route, it's just different. It doesn't mean that it's gonna be more risky. If you hang out with all entrepreneurs and you start to go down that route, you'll realize very quickly that it's almost guaranteed that you'll be successful. So the truth is, if you wanna do something different, if you wanna be successful, you're gonna have to do something different. And most of the time, it's not even risky. It's just different, that's all. The number 3 reason is something that I call the money pipeline. Now, a lot of people perceive their risks around money, finances, right? Well, I'll tell you something, money is like a hose. And most of us don't want to spend money because we want to keep it, we want to hoard it to keep us safe, to have our safety net, just in case something happened and we needed it, right? It keeps us safe. Well, the truth is money is like a hose. Now, if you plug one end of a hose, do you get any more coming in the other side? No. It stops, right? In order to make money, you have to be willing to spend money, AKA invest money. In order to grow your money pipeline or your money hose, you have to be willing to let money out of one side for it to come in the other. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people switching from a 9-to-5 going into the entrepreneurial world make. They're afraid, they think it's a risk to spend money and invest. Now, when I first started my business, I invested over $35,000 in different mentorship coaching programs and everything like that. Now, did every single one of these mentorship and masterminds and coaching programs pan out in that time period? Not necessarily. In fact, one of them I spent $12,000 on. That was the first mastermind that I spent money on that I actually had to put on a credit card. It put me into debt. And it was awful. It was outdated systems. It was outdated tactics and strategies. The support was horrendous. But it was one of the best masterminds that I've ever been a part of. Can I tell you why? 5 years later, I look back on that now, and I can tell you, wow, that mastermind provided me two things. Number one, provided me the opportunity to face my fears and go invest again and take more risks. And number two, I didn't see it then, but I developed a connection to one of my future mentors and now one of my best friends who's helped me make millions of dollars. Now, during that time period, I thought that was a huge mistake and that risk ruined me. But the reality is, looking back 5 years from now, like, that risk made me millions of dollars. I want you to think about it. Have you ever done anything that in the time felt like it was a terrible thing that happened to you, but 1, 2, 5, 10 years down the line, you realize that was a blessing in disguise? Every risk that you take, I will promise you, far enough into the future, you'll be grateful that you took it. Every time you settle and you don't take a risk, in the future, you'll look back and you'll wonder, what if I had done it differently? You think about which one you want to do. Now, the number 4 reason why risks lead to more success is because taking risks, doing something different, causes you to grow. In the end, like Jim Rohn once said, if you want to have more, you have to become more. And to become more, we have to grow as a person. Well, in order to grow, we have to do different things. We have to try different things. We have to expand our knowledge, our impact, our understanding. We have to expand our wisdom. And in order to do that, we got to take risks. We got to go past what we are familiar with. We got to go past what we're comfortable with to learn more and become more. In the end, taking risks is what allows you to grow as a person. And isn't that what life is all about? Isn't that what this is really all about? Life is not about being successful or failing. Life is not about winning or losing. Life is about learning and growing, becoming more, becoming better. Every time I've ever set a goal that I wanted to accomplish, by the time I hit that goal, it wasn't about the goal. I didn't really give a shit about the goal. It was about who I became as a person to get there. That's really what mattered. Now, taking risks leads to growth. And as you grow, you become the person that deserves more. And the last thing, number 5, that I'll leave you with was a study that was done in Australia about 15 years ago, where they studied dozens of the elderly about 2 to 3 months before they passed on. And they asked every single one of them what their biggest regrets were. And they had 2 very distinct regrets. The first one was not building closer relationships with the people they cared about. The second one was not taking more risks and doing things that really mattered to them. Now, I want you to think about this very clearly. When you're lying on your deathbed and you're looking back at your life, do you want to think, man, I wish I had done this. I wish I had gone down this. I wish I'd taken this risk. I wish I'd invested in this. Or do you want to look back and think, man, I did that shit right? You ask yourself which one you want to be. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button below. If you have any other topics that you want me to cover, go ahead and comment them below as well. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another great video, and I'll see you in there.